Hello, and welcome back to another video. I'm super excited because in this video I am doing a tool review, and it's not just any tools. These are Mudtools by Mike Sherrill. I've been using these tools for the better part of my pottery career, almost 14 years now. I've had one rib in particular for over 9 years, and to say that these stand the test of time would be an understatement. So without further ado, here is my Mudtools review. They were sweet enough to send me all these tools, and I told them I would do the review. I'm also doing an Instagram post, and I will also have a code on their website for the full month of June. It's 15 BW Pottery, and that gets you 15% off on the website. I'll put a link in the description as well at the end of the video. And they do have a pretty extensive line of tools, and I'm just going to kind of go through each one and break them down individually and how I use them. So for starters is the bump tool, which is similar to like a throwing stick. And this is a paddle tool. They have a couple sizes, and they come with these socks so you can like add texture if you want, or paddle things when they're wet. This is their carving bow, which is a really nice faceting tool. This is their trim tool. They call it the do-all trim tool. I've had a couple of these. They last for a long time. They're super sharp and versatile. This is a drag tool, and it's really great for fluting shapes and carving into them. Here's one of the many wires that they have. I love this green wire. I think it's 12 inches. They don't kink up. They last forever. Here's one of their curled wires, and you can stretch them out and get as deep of a curl as you want. Here's one of their polymer ribs. This is a bowl shaping rib, and I think these are a medium flex. Yeah, they're a medium flex. Here's one of their stainless steel ribs. I love these ribs. This is one of those tools that I've had for nearly 9 years. Here's another polymer rib. This one's extra soft, and this is just a little guy. And these are their throwing sponges. I'm excited about all these tools, but especially these sponges. They're incredible. So this is the white sponge, and this is what they call their finishing sponge. It's so much softer, not as absorbent as this orange sponge. The orange one is probably the most absorbent, and the blue sponge is their workhorse sponge, which I would say is, most similar to like a yellow sponge that you would get at a pottery store, except it's kidney shaped and so much easier to throw with. These sponges are incredible. The fact that they kind of mimic like a rib shape makes them really comfy in the hand, makes them so easy to throw with. I love throwing with a sponge. It keeps the clay wet because water is constantly being released as you're pulling up, so you never have to worry about your hands sticking. And these do a great job of giving you enough surface area to throw with your fingers on the sponge, and you don't have to worry about them slipping off and, grabbing the clay. I think personally the blue one is probably my favorite. It holds a great deal of water, and it just feels really comfortable. The white sponge is great as well. You can kind of see when I'm pulling up this bowl, like it acts as a finishing sponge, so it really pulls off that slip. It puts that grog back into the clay, and it gives it a nice burnished kind of finish. This is their polymer rib bowl shaping tool. This is the smaller size. There's 2 sizes, and there's all different levels of firmness, and this is the medium level, which I think is really comfy. It has a little bit of play, but it's not too hard to where you can't bend it and kind of play with it. They're so nice for just finishing that shape of the inside of a bowl and having the shape be true. And I will wire this off with their green wire. I've never had one of these green wires kink on me. You'll find that a lot of wire tools will kink, especially like a cheaper one that you would get with a pottery kit. If you wrap it around your fingers, it's probably going to kink on you. Jumping straight into the trimming with their dual trim tool. You can use so many different sides of these tools. There's this more blunt side on the end that I love to trim with. It's probably my favorite side to use. You can use the straight edge to carve out your foot, and then you can just flip it over and continue into that foot. This rounded side's great for finishing up and getting rid of those trimming lines. And then I like using the other side again, the sort of 90-degree angle side, to trim out that foot ring. The fact that it kind of has a rounded edge and gets those trimmings perfectly looped around it, the fact that it has that rounded edge is so nice for carving out that foot ring and using the flat edge opposing to really define the inside of the foot. I'll go ahead and use my sponge just to wet the clay before I go back through with my stainless steel kidney. And these are obviously great for throwing, and they're great for burnishing your pots after you're done trimming. If you want to get rid of those throwing lines, this is the best way to do it. The polymer ribs also work really well. They don't take away as much slip, I think, as the stainless steel ones, but they do a really good job, and these extra soft ones are good at forming to the shape of your pot without too much pressure. So next up, we have another type of stainless steel rib. This is their shape number 4, and it's sort of like a kidney style rib, like a classic one, but it has that straight edge, that straight 90-degree angle, which I really love because a lot of the pots that I throw have a wide bottom and a straight edge. They all have like this 90-degree edge, so this rib is super helpful for the mugs that I like to throw. If you like to throw like a nice straight tapered mug, that is the best rib that you could be using. So I'll just wire it off spinning at the same time with my curly short pink wire, and you can kind of already see on the wheel head that thumbprint spiraled groove that gets left in the bottom of it. And I love this. This is like a trademark kind of stamp for a lot of the pots that I make. Yeah, you can't really find it anywhere else, and their wires are the best ones to do it, in my opinion. So this is their drag tool, and it's a great tool for fluting. Admittedly, I don't flute a lot of my pots, and this is kind of a first for me. I've done it with like trim tools before, but this drag tool makes it so easy. It's so comfortable in the hand, and I can lean the whole tool on the edge of the pot and get the desired depth that I need. Like, it only goes so deep, and that's really nice because it makes it a controlled depth, and each time you can get a consistent flute. And they're super sharp, and it's, the best experience that I've had doing fluting, which isn't much, and it came really easily. So if you want to get into the fluting, I think a drag tool is your best option. So now we'll go into the bump tool. This is an incredible tool. I've always had a bone to pick with throwing sticks because, the end is often this big, sharp piece of wood, and it's really easy to jab it into the clay, which is super soft, and tear a hole through your clay. And this bump tool has this really dense sponge on the end of it, which is almost like flesh-like. Like, it almost feels like, an extension of your hand. And it's really helpful for throwing these narrow bottles where you don't want to reach your hand back in and open up the clay. You can just put in that bump tool, press it into your rib, and come away with a nice bottle. Another way to use this tool is just opening out the clay and shaping it without your hand on the side, or like without using a rib. You can just rib off your clay in the beginning, throw in your bump tool, and just open up that clay and stretch it out with that bump tool. It does an incredible job of this. It never really sticks to the inside of the pot, which is great as well, because like wooden tools, they can't hold water in them, and they can't just effortlessly drag across the clay. This bump tool, having that like dense sponge like material on the end of it, it feels like a breakthrough. Like, I wished I would have been using one of these years ago, but now I am, so that's a good thing. And yeah, now we'll get into their paddle tool. So that end piece that I took off at first was their sock. It's like a paddle sock, and it's great if you want to paddle a form that is maybe not as leather hard as this form that I'm paddling right now. So it won't stick to the clay if you have that sock on. You can also put material inside of the sock and get a nice texture. But for this example, I'm just paddling a leather hard pot and getting it sort of squared off into that desired shape that I want. I was almost more excited to use this edge of the tool than the actual flat paddle part. It kind of comes as a triangle, so this is like really high quality wood. This thing's gonna last forever. It's finished, it's really well made, and there's this triangle part, this like triangle hard edge on the back of this paddle, and you can manipulate clay and get these straight edges into the backs of your leather hard pots. I would recommend doing it with something leather hard and not on the softer side or on the harder side, because it will probably crack that clay. But you can shape things and get these cool indentations, and I kind of envisioned using the tool like this, and to put it into reality felt really great. And I can't wait to experiment with that more and use that more. And lastly, we have the carving bow. This thing is absolutely incredible. I love to facet my pots. The tension on the wire on this carving bow is so tight, which is always a pet peeve of mine. I feel like you'll buy these faceting tools and the tension on the actual wire is so loose and it's so hard to make the facets. But this thing, it feels like you're cutting into a slab of butter. You can use it on a wet pot or on a leather hard pot. If for some reason you actually do need to replace the wire, they sell wire replacement kits, and they have a curly wire and a straight wire, and you can make different patterns to whatever your heart desires. I love this carving bow and I can't wait to use it more. Along with all of my mud tools, I cannot brag about these tools enough. Long before we even decided to do this collaboration, I've been using these tools for the better part of a decade. They last forever, and I would encourage you to get your hands on some. I have a discount code going right now. It's 15BW Pottery. I'll put a link in the description of this video, and thanks so much for watching.